What's going on, trading card game players? Figs here with FigsForm, bringing you guys another rendition of Phantom Knights. So I wanted to go ahead and showcase for you guys what I would currently be playing for Phantom Knights. And I say that because right now I'm actually not playing Phantom Knights. I'm actually playing Malice. I've been playing Malice since a little before the ban list, so probably about maybe a month or two now. Really been enjoying the deck. It does remind me a lot of Phantom Knights where, you just have all these toolbox cards. The cards float. You have access to using the names multiple times. You put your PK names on the board. You put them in the grave, you reuse them. It's nice to have, another deck that plays very similar in that regard. But unfortunately, I only went to Malice just because of the fact that Phantom Knights does get hit by a lot of the side cards and a lot of the cards that people are playing to combat Malice. So I didn't want to be in that position where I'm playing the lesser deck just because, of course, the deck hasn't gotten any support. It's been power crept for forever. But then on top of that, you're getting hit with Lancia, Chaos Hunter. Cards like Shifter were obviously around and Dweller people were playing. And then the ban list came around. Definitely ban list was great. I really like it. Shifter at 1, Bestials at 1, the important ones. And then of course, we have still Lancia in the format, but Abyss Dweller did get hit finally, which I feel like that card should have been gone a long time ago. But that's besides the point. I'm giving you my excuses for why I'm not currently playing Phantom Knights because of course I want to play something more competitive. I want to be able to compete, but also still be able to play through all those crazy cards that people are throwing at the deck in order to stop it, which Malice can do. So we are playing Malice at the moment. I do plan on playing Orcus Phantom Knights when the Orcus cards do come out, which I am prepared for. So, we'll definitely be playing Orcus Phantom Knights at Nationals this year. So PK will be, in the deck, of course. But I am playing Malice for the time being. But I wanted to give you guys what I would currently be playing for Phantom Knights. It's very similar to what I was playing before. I do still think Protos is absolutely insane for decks that obviously can't compete or keep up, because being able to cut off an engine, multiple engines, or the entire deck does give you the ability to basically, play kind of an even playing field in a sense. Of course, nothing's ever fair about a floodgate, but that's the only way that really allows us to be able to stay in the format. And since we are still playing Goblins, because I feel that engine is still very, very good for competing with Yugioh Mitsu, and Yugioh obviously still in the format. It gives us that option of being able to play into a lot of the more competitive decks, while also giving us enough gas to be able to, kill our opponents, set up our crazy gimmicks, and still play the game. So that's why I'm playing it this way. So I wanted to showcase this build for you guys, and I'll give you any explanations on things that you could potentially change based on your preferences, because I am playing this with the format in mind. I won't be sharing a side deck just because side deck is very, personal in terms of what you prefer. It has a lot of preference, but the format obviously is starting to shape up. We really do see the strengths currently in the format. Mitsu Yugioh is still very strong. Malice is still very strong. So these decks are going to be very hard to compete with. So we want to make sure that we do have the right cards in the main as well as in the sideboard for dealing, with these decks. But in my opinion, I feel like the main board does have everything it needs. You just have to facilitate playing, according to the matchup and things like that. So, but we'll get into it. We'll get into the deck list. I won't be doing any combos. Again, no side deck. This is just going to be the main and the extra deck, just so that way you guys can see exactly what it is that we're playing in the deck. And then you can go ahead and make your adjustments as needed. But otherwise, I think that this build with Goblin Bikers is still one of the more competitive options. I do like Fiendsmith with Horus. I do think that's still strong. I love Fiendsmith, but unfortunately, Phantom Knight already has a tight extra deck. So if you're giving up cards for the entire Fiendsmith engine, you're giving up a lot. And the potential of recursion for Fiendsmith is very good and obviously is better than Phantom Knights. But in my opinion, I feel like the Phantom Knight engine is actually better longevity just because of the fact that it has the ability to kill in a lot easier ways. Also, you're not targeted. That's the thing too, is that, they're not going to understand. Most people still don't understand a lot of the Phantom Knight lines. So going Fiendsmith, they know what's coming. Phantom Knights, people still get hit with Arc Rebellion and don't know what happened. That's just the game. But of course, we're trying to play the deck so that we can give you guys competitive options. So I want to make sure that, whatever I'm throwing at you guys is competitive. It's fair for you, not for your opponent, but fair for you to be able to, combat the meta. So we'll get into it. Let me go ahead and get into the deck profile. We'll bring it here now. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and get into the deck profile. We'll start with the Phantom Knight cards as usual. We've got our 3 Torn Scale. I feel like that's pretty common in terms of what we're playing. The Torn Scales in this deck can be a 1 card starter, 1.5 card starter with a discard. So we are playing 3. We've got our 3 Boots, 2 Cloak, 1 Stained, 1 Gloves, Shade, and then our 3 Fog Blades. We don't need wings. We don't need multiple ways of being able to recur or revive, just because of the fact that the Goblin Engine actually is like a 1-card combo that gets us to Bardiche. So we never really need the other trap for the second name, and drawing wings compared to Fog Blade obviously isn't as good. We're playing the Stained and Shade Burgundy because that allows us to be able to go into the Protos line. And then, of course, everything else is pretty standard for Phantom Knights. In my opinion, 2 Cloak is necessary because people are still playing Bestials. And of course, if they target the Cloak, you absolutely need the Cloak for combo, especially going first. So we do have to play 2 Cloak. Then we get into the Goblin stuff. We've got 2 of the Dug Charger, 1 Galled Wild, 1 Merciless, 1 Sploder, 2 Breakout, and 2 Entrance. So we're playing it like this. This is like the standard way I like playing it. A lot of people like to do instead of Merciless, do 2 Gone Wild, just to kind of avoid that brick, that kind of brick section, because that's what happens. A lot of times, if you open up the Gone Wild, you need to have a second copy in the deck for the Breakout. But what I'm doing is I'm actually playing Merciless because it specials from hand. It's a different attribute for Protos and also gives you another option as an extender, because during your turn, you can detach one from one of your materials to summon it. So I do like having like additional options for being able to set up the board. But also this gives you, when you're doing it that way and you do open up Gone Wild, you are able to use Merciless to summon them from hand, which actually gives you an additional body. Because normally you would do Breakout, tribute whatever monster, then you would summon Gone Wild. Gone Wild will get you Sploder. Sploder gets you Dug from the grave, and those are your 3 monsters. Whereas if you go Merciless, because you have Gone Wild in hand, you can go Merciless, you can go Breakout, summon Merciless, bring out Gone Wild, Sploder, bring back Dug Charger, and now you have 4 bodies compared to 3. So bricking can potentially give you the extra body, but of course we wanted to have the option of being able to avoid bricking, and so playing cards out of your hand is very important for these combo lines. So that's it for the Goblins, of course in the main. Then we're also playing a small Fiendsmith engine. We're doing 3 Engraver, 1 Tract, 1 Lurie. So I'm playing this just for the simple fact of Caesar. We're not playing the full Fiendsmith engine, but this also gives us an additional option for being able to force cards out of our opponent. Because of course, you can't just rely on 1 or 2 engines. And of course, being able to play this game, you want to make sure that you have access to some of the best cards. And right now, I feel like Caesar is actually much better than Desiree, just because Caesar against Malice is very strong. Caesar also being able to deal with Nibiru. So being able to like have this line first, then go into your other stuff is absolutely great. So we wanted to have something just a little bit more, but nothing big. I feel like Horus would have been too much because 3M SETI, then the Sarks, then the extra names, then the extra deck. So I feel like this is perfect just because, again, Engraver kind of does enough on his own, even just with Requiem, with being able to out cards. So it's not like, you're taking away anything from yourself. You are still giving yourself the option to play into different things. But I feel like that engine, just in this size, is perfect for what we're trying to do with the deck. Then we've got 3 Speedward Terratop, 1 Taki Tomborg. Obviously standard. He's like an honorary level 3 or honorary Phantom Knight. Allows us to play the game. Gotta love ourselves a Terratop. Then we have the Protos and we have the Flag. So this is what we're doing for the combo. We go Banshee into Flag, Flag into Protos, and then we go ahead and recall whatever we need. We are able to get pretty much almost every attribute on board. That's the reason why we're also playing Fiendsmith, because in our combo, we're able to take Flag and we're also able to take Banshee, make Moon. We can do that whole combo line for Caesar, or if we need a light and we didn't keep the Goblin monster on board, we can use the Fiendsmith engine as a way to call light to lock out lights. So we do have the ability to summon pretty much every attribute onto the board and be able to use Protos to call that attribute, which is very nice. Very gimmicky, of course, because this is a game 1 strategy essentially, or going first strategy, my apologies. So it is hard to really dictate, but a lot of times Calling Dark can shut out a lot. It shuts out Mitsu, shuts out Malice. So for a deck like ours, where again, we are, trying to compete with a lot stronger decks, it's nice to have an option like this where we can kind of potentially shut down, certain decks, but it is hard because of course, doing this blind game 1 can be risky, of course. So, but let's get into the non-engine. So we've got 3 Imperm, 3 Ash Blossom, 3 Droll, 3 Nibiru, 3 Droplet, and 1 Called By. So this is a 50 card deck. We need to play hand traps. Unfortunately, board breakers are good, but because of the size of the deck and what we're actually playing, in order to play board breakers, we would actually supplement, not being able to interact with our opponent in certain situations, and also allowing them to kind of go too far. The decks right now with Malice and Mitsu Raizio, they go pretty far. They do a lot, and a lot of it's layered. So the problem is with our board breakers, even if we are able to kind of deal with what's on the board, we still have to deal with what comes after. And Droplet's the only interchangeable card that allows you to like in mid turn be able to answer certain things. Even enemy controller is good as well. Eclipse, obviously hurts our own board. So that's why I said there's only a small amount of cards that really do interact with layered boards. And right now, most of the decks that are setting up end boards are layered. So I felt like playing hand traps is probably the most important thing. I would play Dominus Impulse, but it is too risky with our main engine of goblins starting off with Earth. And I don't want to take the chance of like having to sat it, wait, and stuff like that. Imperm, obviously works when all these cards work when they need to. That's the biggest thing. We don't want to rely on an Impulse. I like it a lot, and I think the card's insane. And if I wasn't playing so many, different attributes, I would. But I think this is perfectly fine. We have all of our answers for what we need in dealing with the game. We've got our Imperms. We've got our Ash Blossoms for the Charmies, Droplets for the end board, Droll and Nib for all the good decks in the meta right now, and then our Called By just to kind of answer other hand traps and graveyard effects. Very good against Malice. We definitely need it for the White Binder to be able to deal with it, unless they have like GWC, March, and 100 other chainable cards. It's kind of hard to deal with, but got to play the Called By because it's necessary, even against Lancia. So as I said, 50 card main deck. The only adjustment that I would potentially make is playing Fua or playing the Charmies. You could take out Droplet. I think I would cut Droplet and put it in the side if I was playing a Charmy, just because that is your kind of your side pattern going first. You're able to side out the Fua, put in Droplet or any other card that you obviously need. Same thing with going second, depending on what you need. If Droll isn't good against, let's say Malice you're playing against, then you can drop the Droll for a Droplet. So it gives you an additional way of being able to deal with like White Binder, negates, things like that. So let's get into the extra decks. We've got our 2 Breaksword, 1 Raiders Knight, 1 Arc Rebellion. As I said earlier, this is like the only line you could potentially cut to play more of the Fiendsmith stuff, but I feel like this is just too generic in the deck to not play. I've won so many games that I shouldn't have just playing these cards, and then of course you win the games you should. So I feel like this is just absolutely necessary. I mean, 2 level 3s makes this, and as long as you've got 2 names engraved, you're killing your opponent. I did Levier over the number monster I was playing previously, just because we are playing Fiendsmith, so 2 level 3s, recycle names back in the grave, and then allows us to do Fiendsmith. So we are playing the Levier. Plus, it only happens when you're only playing the number monster when you open up Terror Top and a way to play. So it is, very niche. So I wanted something that was less niche. Goblin Biker Gabanga, very important combo piece. Also very important for the end board. It's one of our lights that we usually end on, or we use it to, interact with our opponent if we don't go Protos. Banshee gets us flags, so that's it for the XYZs. Yeah, Banshee is just very obviously self-explanatory. Then we've got our IP Masquerena, our Cherubini, SP Little Knight, and our Bardiche. This is like our standard, Phantom Knight stuff that we need for our end board. Cherubini and Bardiche for setting up, and then these for our potential end board. And then we've also got our Fiendsmith stuff. We've got Moon, we've got Requiem, Princess, and Caesar. So these are the only Fiendsmith stuff that I'm playing. Like I said, I wanted to have the option of being able to, go into something Fiendsmith, but I do feel like Caesar is absolutely insane right now. Princess is good in this deck as well because we do discard names. And then, of course, Moon just makes it easier to get into the combo. So that's it for the deck. As I said, I wanted to showcase that for you guys so that way you could see what I would currently be playing in the current format. I do play this for fun, of course. That's why it is sleeved up. So I do enjoy, playing Phantom Knights as always. And I do want to get back into it once Orcus comes out. So definitely look forward to that. I believe the support comes out in July, if I'm correct, or something like that. Right before Nats, or June, one of the two. But either way, we'll be picking it up for Nats. We will be playing Orcus Phantom Knights, so it should be, quite a bit of fun. But jump into the comment section below. Let me know what adjustments you guys would make. Let me know how you would transform the deck and your formula or your take on the deck of what you guys are currently playing this format. I'm very curious, because there's not a lot of noise out there for Phantom Knights. Like I said, it's definitely a very difficult format for the deck to compete in with all the hate towards Malice and then the upcoming hate towards Orcus. But we're definitely going to run it. If I had to pick one or the other, since I can play Phantom Knights and Orcus, I got to play Phantom Knight Orcus, so I'll definitely be on that. But hope you guys enjoyed the video today. Definitely, like I said, like and subscribe. Jump in the comment section below. Let's, discuss your formula and, let's discuss any transformations you guys would make. And hope to see you guys in the next video. Thank you for the support.